The holographic message flickered in the United Nations chamber. The alien looked human-like, but had blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand. Its voice echoed through the silent room. I speak for the Galactic Hegemony, rulers of 1,000 star systems. Earth is now within our territory. You will surrender your planet within 30 standard rotations, or face immediate pacification. Ambassador Kang gripped the edge of his seat. In his 40 years of diplomacy, he had faced many tough negotiations, but nothing like this. The cold way the alien said pacification sent chills down his spine. What exactly does surrender entail? Kang asked, keeping his voice steady. The alien tilted its head. Your people will become a resource colony. 80% of your minerals, water, and biological materials will be harvested for the greater good of the hegemony. Those who cooperate will be allowed limited autonomy. Murmurs filled the chamber. The Secretary General stood up. And if we refuse, then your military installations will be destroyed first, followed by your major cities until resistance ends. This is not negotiable. We have done this 10,000 times before. The hologram flickered once and disappeared. Chaos erupted in the chamber. Representatives shouted over each other, some calling for immediate surrender, others for resistance. Ambassador Kang slipped quietly from the room and made a secure call. They're here, he said simply. President Park sat alone in the Oval Office when her aide rushed in. Madam President, it's happening. First contact, just as the Antarctica files predicted. She nodded, unsurprised. The classified files found with the crashed alien scout ship in Antarctica 50 years ago had warned of this moment. 3 generations of world leaders had secretly prepared while keeping humanity in the dark. Gathered the Security Council. Full emergency protocol. Within 30 minutes, 12 people sat around the table in the bunker beneath the White House. The room was sealed against any possible surveillance. The hegemony has made contact, President Park said. They've given us 30 days to surrender. Their terms are exactly what the Antarctica documents predicted. Defense Secretary Joe placed a tablet on the table. Satellite imagery confirms a large alien fleet has taken position behind the moon. Their technology matches our projections. How many ships? Asked General Kim. 26 that we can detect. But their energy signatures suggest they're far more advanced than our conventional forces could handle. President Park looked at each face around the table. You all know why we're here. For 50 years, we've been building our response to this moment. She took a deep breath. Activate Protocol Midnight. General Kim nodded grimly. The Black Fleet stands ready, Madam President. What's our official response to the hegemony? Asked the UN ambassador. We stall, President Park replied. Request negotiations, ask for clarifications, demand proof of their claims. We need to appear frightened and divided while we deploy our forces. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Lieutenant Han sat at the command center of Midnight Base Alpha. The facility, hidden 7 miles below the ocean floor, was humanity's best-kept secret. Not even the existence of the base appeared in official records. The secure terminal in front of him flashed red. Han placed his palm on the scanner and looked into the retinal reader. Identity confirmed, said the computer. The screen displayed a simple message. PRO2SOSU activated. Han felt his heart rate increase. The moment they had trained for was finally here. Alert all section chiefs, he ordered. Begin activation sequence for all Black Fleet vessels. Throughout the massive underwater cavern, lights began to turn on, illuminating the sleek black shapes of spacecraft, unlike anything the public had ever seen. These were not the clumsy rockets of NASA or other space agencies. These vessels incorporated technology reverse-engineered from the Antarctica crash site. Han walked to the central command platform where Admiral Yoon was already reviewing deployment plans. How long until the fleet is ready? Han asked. 24 hours for the Pacific Division, Admiral Yoon replied. We're receiving confirmation that Atlantic, Arctic, and Asteroid Belt divisions are also beginning activation. On the surface, the world reacted with panic to news of the alien ultimatum. Stock markets crashed. Religious leaders called for prayer. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. In this chaos, no one noticed the subtle movements of key personnel to secure locations. No one questioned why certain military bases suddenly went dark. The public was too focused on the aliens to notice humanity's secret preparations. At the United Nations, Ambassador Kang led a delegation meeting with the hegemony representatives. "We need more time to consider your terms," Kang said. "Our world has many nations, many leaders. We have no unified government like your hegemony." The alien diplomat, who had introduced himself as Emissary Tarn, showed no emotion. "Your internal political structures are irrelevant. 30 standard rotations is generous. Many worlds receive only 5. Perhaps you could explain more about how the transition would work," Kang asked, deliberately dragging out the discussion. As the diplomatic talks crawled forward, submarines around the world quietly moved to deep-sea trenches. In remote areas of the Antarctic, massive hangar doors opened for the first time in decades. On the far side of the moon, hidden facilities activated launch systems. Lieutenant Han supervised as technicians prepared the command ship of the Pacific Division. Named Shadow of Earth, it was the largest vessel in the Black Fleet, over a mile long and equipped with weapons systems that could destroy small moons. "All systems check out," reported Chief Engineer Min. "Quantum drives are stable. Stealth systems are operational. Weapon systems are charged and ready." Han nodded. "And the special payload?" Min lowered her voice. "The sundering device is secure, but remember, it's a prototype. We've never tested it against actual hegemony technology." "Let's hope we never need to use it," Han replied. Admiral Yoon approached them. "We launch in 6 hours. The hegemony still believes we're just a primitive planet scrambling in fear." "Their mistake," Han said. In the White House Situation Room, President Park watched as reports came in from Black Fleet installations around the world. Everything was proceeding according to plan. 50 years of secret preparation was about to be put to the test. General Kim pointed to the global map. "All divisions report ready or nearly ready, Madam President. We're ahead of schedule." And the hegemony, still in position behind the moon. "They're sending regular communications to their home systems, likely reports about our apparent disorganization." President Park nodded. "Let them think we're easy prey. When the time comes, we'll show them that humanity does not surrender." As diplomats continued their delaying tactics, Earth's hidden defenders prepared for war. Protocol Midnight was fully underway, and the Black Fleet, humanity's secret weapon, would soon reveal itself to an unsuspecting galaxy. Lieutenant Han took one last look at the massive fleet assembled in the underwater cavern. In less than a day, these ships would emerge from oceans, ice caps, and asteroid hideaways to defend Earth. The hegemony thought they were facing a helpless world. They would soon learn how wrong they were. The hegemony warships filled Earth's skies on the final day of the ultimatum. Their massive hulls blocked the sun in many cities, casting long shadows across the land. People looked up in fear as the alien vessels hovered silently overhead. Lord Tejo stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. He watched Earth with cold satisfaction. This world would soon join thousands of others under hegemony control. "The human delegation is approaching, my lord," reported his second-in-command. "Excellent. Prepare the integration protocols. Once they sign the surrender, deploy the harvester ships." Lord Tejo straightened his uniform. He had conquered 17 worlds for the hegemony, but Earth would be his greatest prize. The small human shuttle docked with the Eternal Dominion. Ambassador Kang and 5 other representatives were escorted to the Grand Hall. They carried what appeared to be surrender documents. "Welcome to the beginning of your world's glorious future as part of the hegemony," Lord Tejo announced. He did not stand to greet the humans. "I trust you have the signed documents." Ambassador Kang bowed slightly. "We do, Lord Tejo." But our leaders request a small delay of 1 Earth hour to address our people one final time. Lord Tejo frowned. More delays. Your time is up. Just 1 hour, Kang insisted, to help calm the population and ensure a smooth transition. Very well. 1 hour, not a minute more. Lord Tejo waved his hand dismissively. As the human delegation returned to their shuttle, Lord Tejo turned to his advisor. Begin positioning the harvester ships. I want resource extraction to begin immediately after the surrender is signed. Yes, my lord. 55 minutes later, alarm signals blared across the Eternal Dominion's bridge. My lord, we're detecting strange energy signatures throughout the solar system. Lord Tejo rushed to the main sensor display. The readings made no sense. Massive power sources were suddenly appearing where none had been before. Impossible. Lord Tejo hissed. The sensors showed large objects emerging from Jupiter's moons, rising from Earth's oceans, and detaching from the asteroid belt. What trickery is this? He demanded. His sensor officer looked up with fear in his eyes. My lord, they appear to be warships. Hundreds of them. Impossible. Earth has no such technology. But the evidence was undeniable. The sensor screens filled with contacts as more vessels appeared. They were unlike any ships Lord Tejo had ever seen. Sleek, black, with no visible engine emissions yet moving at incredible speeds. Open a channel to their leaders. Lord Tejo ordered. The communication screen flickered to life. Instead of Ambassador Kang, a stern-faced human in a black uniform appeared. This is Captain Lee of the Black Fleet flagship BSS Vengeance. Your ultimatum is rejected. Leave our solar system immediately or face the consequences. Lord Tejo laughed. You dare threaten the hegemony? Your primitive vessels are no match for our armada. Captain Lee's expression didn't change. We're not primitives, and these aren't primitive vessels. All ships engage as planned. Today we show the galaxy that humanity does not surrender. The communication ended. Lord Tejo was still processing what happened when the first reports of attacks came in. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the BSS Vengeance. At over 2 miles long, it was the largest warship humans had ever built. For decades it had remained hidden, constructed in secret beneath the Atlantic Ocean. All fleet divisions report ready, Captain, announced Lieutenant Han, who had transferred from Midnight Base Alpha. Lee nodded. Execute attack pattern Midnight Star. The Vengeance accelerated toward the Hegemony flagship. Around it, hundreds of other Black Fleet vessels moved with precision. They had trained for this moment for generations. Stealth systems are working perfectly, reported the tactical officer. The Hegemony ships can't get a targeting lock. Lee watched as the first wave of Black Fleet fighters engaged the Hegemony's outer defenses. The small, agile craft moved so quickly they appeared as little more than blurs on visual sensors. Deploy gravity disruptors, Lee ordered. The Vengeance fired its main weapon, not a laser or missile, but a focused beam that distorted gravity itself. When it struck a Hegemony cruiser, the alien ship twisted as if made of rubber before breaking apart. Lord Tejo watched in horror as his fleet came under attack from all directions. These humans had technology that should be impossible for their development level. How are they moving so fast? He demanded. Why can't we target them? Their ships absorb our scanning beams, his science officer replied. And they seem to be using some form of gravity manipulation for propulsion. A nearby Hegemony destroyer exploded as a black human vessel half its size tore through its shields with ease. Order all ships to form a defensive sphere, Lord Tejo commanded. But before his fleet could regroup, another wave of Black Fleet vessels appeared from behind Earth's moon. They fired strange weapons that bypassed the Hegemony shields completely. My lord, we've lost 23 ships already. Lord Tejo couldn't believe what he was seeing. The Hegemony had conquered 1,000 worlds, and none had ever mounted such an effective defense. Target their largest vessel, he ordered. Concentrate all firepower. The Eternal Dominion and 5 supporting battleships fired their main cannons at the Vengeance. The space between the ships lit up with energy beams. On the Vengeance, Captain Lee felt the ship shudder as the hegemony weapons struck. "Shields holding at 87%, reported the defense officer. "Return fire. Target their flagship's propulsion systems." The Vengeance's quantum cannons fired, sending 3 brilliant blue beams toward the Eternal Dominion. Where they struck, the alien ship's hull simply ceased to exist, leaving perfect circular holes. Throughout the solar system, the battle raged. Black Fleet vessels from the Jupiter Division attacked the hegemony supply ships. The Asteroid Belt Division targeted communication relays, and the Earth divisions focused on the main combat vessels. "The hegemony fleet is trying to regroup near Mars," Lieutenant Han reported. "Not today," Captain Lee said. "Signal the Mars division to deploy." As if from nowhere, another 30 Black Fleet warships appeared from hidden bases on Mars and its moons. They cut off the hegemony's retreat path. Lord Tejo watched as his carefully planned invasion fell apart. The humans had not only prepared for the hegemony's arrival, but had built a fleet specifically designed to counter their technology. "My lord, our shields are failing. The human weapons somehow bypass our defensive frequencies." Another explosion rocked the flagship. Emergency lights flashed as systems failed across the ship. "Order all remaining vessels to target Earth directly," Lord Tejo commanded in desperation. "If we can't have this world, neither will they." 5 hegemony destroyers broke formation and accelerated toward Earth, charging their planet killer weapons. "Captain, 5 enemy ships are making a run for Earth," Lieutenant Han reported urgently. Captain Lee's expression hardened. "Deploy the Guardians." From Earth's atmosphere rose a new type of vessel, massive circular ships that positioned themselves between the planet and the approaching destroyers. As the hegemony ships fired their weapons, the Guardian vessels activated their primary defense systems. The destructive beams from the alien ships bent around Earth, redirected by powerful gravity fields. "Return fire," Captain Lee ordered. The Guardians released thousands of small, missile-like objects that swarmed toward the hegemony destroyers. These weren't conventional explosives, but tiny gravity distortion devices. When they reached their targets, they didn't explode. They imploded, creating microsecond black holes that tore chunks from the alien ships. One by one, the hegemony destroyers broke apart or lost power. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Lord Tejo realized he had made a terrible mistake. The supposedly primitive humans had somehow developed technology that rivaled or even surpassed the hegemonies. "My lord, we've lost over half our fleet. The humans are targeting our engines." The ship shook violently as another hit struck home. "Prepare an emergency transmission to High Command," Lord Tejo ordered. "Inform them." Before he could finish, the bridge view screen showed the enormous shape of the Vengeance appearing directly above them. "Message from the human flagship," his communication officer reported weakly. Captain Lee's face appeared on screen again. "Your attack on Earth has failed. Surrender your vessels or be destroyed." Lord Tejo looked around at his damaged bridge, at his fearful crew. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he had been defeated. "This isn't possible," he whispered. "How could they hide such technology from us?" But the evidence was clear as the Black Fleet ships surrounded what remained of his once mighty armada. Somehow, humanity had prepared for this day, and the hegemony had walked into a trap. The sleek black vessels moved with impossible speed around his crippled fleet, deploying technologies the hegemony had never witnessed and never expected to face on a supposedly primitive world. Evasive maneuvers. Admiral Tejo screamed as the bridge of the Eternal Dominion shook violently. Warning lights flashed across every control panel. The gravitational weapons from the human vessels were doing something his scientists had claimed was impossible. They were tearing through the hegemony shields as if they weren't even there. "My lord, the shields are failing in sections 4 through 9, his tactical officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Tejo gripped the command rail as another blast rocked the massive ship. He had led 17 successful planetary conquests, but never faced anything like this. These humans were fighting with technology that matched or even exceeded hegemony capabilities. Redirect all power to forward shields. Target their largest vessel with everything we have. On the tactical display, he could see his once organized fleet scattering into chaos. The black human ships seemed to appear and disappear from sensors, making targeting nearly impossible. "They're using some kind of phase technology," his science officer explained frantically. "Our targeting systems can't lock onto them for more than a few seconds." Another impact sent several crew members flying across the bridge. A support beam crashed down, crushing a control station. "Status report," Tejo demanded. 30% of the fleet is either destroyed or disabled. The rest are reporting similar shield failures. These humans, the officer's voice trailed off in disbelief. Captain Lee stood calmly on the bridge of the BSS Vengeance, watching as the battle unfolded exactly as their simulations had predicted. The hegemony relied too heavily on their standard tactics that Earth had studied for decades from the data recovered from the crashed scout ship. "Their flagship is attempting to concentrate fire on us," reported Lieutenant Han. "Their shots are going wide by at least 2 kilometers. Lee nodded. "The gravity distortion field is working perfectly. Time to press our advantage. Deploy phase shift torpedoes. Target their propulsion systems." The weapons officer entered the commands. "Phase shift torpedoes armed and ready, Captain." Fire. From the underside of the Vengeance, 6 sleek torpedoes launched toward the Eternal Dominion. Unlike conventional weapons, these torpedoes didn't travel in straight lines. They phased in and out of normal space, making them impossible to track or intercept. Lee watched the tactical display as the torpedoes vanished from normal sensors, only to reappear inside the hegemony flagship's defensive perimeter. "Direct hits on all targets," announced the weapons officer with satisfaction. "Their main propulsion systems are offline." Lee turned to his communications officer. "Signal Commander Song. She is cleared to begin her mission." Commander Song sat in the cockpit of her infiltration craft, the Shadow Dart. It was barely larger than a fighter but equipped with the most advanced stealth technology in the Black Fleet. Around her sat 12 elite soldiers, the best Earth had to offer. "We have clearance," she announced to her team. "Prepare for phase jump." The soldiers checked their specialized battle suits one final time. These weren't ordinary combat armor, but integrated systems that could temporarily phase out of normal space, allowing them to pass through solid matter for brief periods. "Remember your training," Song said. "We'll have 90 seconds of phase capability once inside. Plant the disruptors at the marked locations and get out. Anyone left behind when the disruptors activate will not be coming home." The team nodded grimly. They all understood the risks. Song activated the phase jump system. A shadow dart shimmered and then seemed to dissolve from reality. Unlike the larger vessels of the Black Fleet, this small craft could completely phase out of normal space for short periods. Inside the craft, the soldiers felt a strange tingling sensation as their bodies partially separated from physical reality. Through the view screen, the massive hegemony flagship looked ghostly and transparent. Approaching target. Phase penetration in 3, 2, 1. The shadow dart passed directly through the hull of the Eternal Dominion as if it were made of fog. Once inside a large cargo bay, Song deactivated the phase field. "Deploy now. Follow your assigned routes." The cargo bay was empty of personnel. The hegemony crew was too busy fighting for survival to worry about this section of the ship. The team split into 4 groups and moved quickly through the corridors. Song led her 3 soldiers toward the central command nodes. Their mission was to plant quantum disruptors, devices that would temporarily disable all electronic systems throughout the ship. As they rounded a corner, they encountered 2 hegemony guards. Before the aliens could react, Song fired her phase pistol. Instead of a typical energy blast, it fired bursts that caused portions of the guards' bodies to phase out of normal space. They collapsed, their nervous systems unable to function with parts of their bodies in different dimensional states. Central command is 3 levels up, Song told her team. Activate phase suits for vertical movement. They triggered their suits and rose directly through the ceiling, passing through solid metal as if it weren't there. This capability was limited. Each use drained the suit's power cells rapidly. After passing through 3 decks, they emerged in a corridor just outside the secondary command center. Song checked her tactical display. The other 3 teams were reporting successful progress. Reaching secondary command now, she whispered into her communicator. Admiral Tejo was shouting orders when one of his officers noticed something on the internal sensors. "My lord, we're detecting strange energy fluctuations inside the ship. Security teams report intruders." "Impossible. How could they board us during battle?" Tejo demanded. Before anyone could answer, the lights on the bridge flickered. Security alerts began blaring from all sections of the ship. Multiple intrusions reported throughout the vessel. The security chief reported. "They seem to be placing unknown devices on our key systems." Tejo slammed his fist on the command console. "Lock down all vital areas. Deploy all internal security teams." But it was already too late. Commander Song placed the last quantum disruptor on the power distribution node. Similar devices were being placed throughout the ship by her other teams. "This is Song. Final disruptor placed. All teams report status." Team 2. Disruptors placed in engine control. Team 3. Weapons control disruptors active. Team 4. Life support and defensive systems covered. Song nodded in satisfaction. All teams return to extraction point immediately. Disruptors activate in 3 minutes. As her team rushed back toward the cargo bay where their ship waited, Song activated her communicator again. "Captain Lee, this is Commander Song. We've breached their central command. All disruptors are in place. Beginning extraction now." She and her team encountered heavy resistance on their way back. Hegemony security forces had finally organized and were flooding the corridors. "Phase through," Song ordered as they reached a blockade of soldiers. The team activated their suits one final time, becoming ghostly figures that passed directly through the surprised aliens and the wall behind them. With just 30 seconds to spare, all 4 teams reached the Shadow Dart. Song did a quick head count. All 12 soldiers had made it back. "Launch now," she ordered the pilot. The Shadow Dart phased out once more, passing through the hull of the flagship just as the first quantum disruptors began to activate. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Tejo watched in horror as system after system went offline. The lights died, replaced by dim emergency lighting. The weapons stopped responding. Even life support began to falter. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Some kind of cascading system failure," his chief engineer reported frantically. "Everything is shutting down." The main view screen flickered back to life for a moment, showing the Black Fleet ships moving into position around his crippled flagship. "My lord," his second-in-command said quietly, "we've lost control of the fleet. Many of our ships are retreating." Tejo stared in disbelief. Without orders from the flagship, the remaining hegemony vessels were falling back, breaking formation, fleeing the battle. Centuries of military protocol were crumbling in the face of this unexpected defeat. "Send the emergency signal," Tejo said finally, his voice hollow. "Alert the High Command that Earth is not what we thought." But even the communication systems failed to respond. Captain Lee watched as the hegemony fleet scattered. Without leadership from their flagship, their disciplined formation had collapsed into a disorganized retreat. Commander Song's mission was successful, Lieutenant Han reported. "The Eternal Dominion is completely disabled." Lee nodded. "Signal all ships. Allow the retreating enemy vessels to leave the system. I want them to report what happened here today." "And the flagship?" Lee studied the crippled hegemony vessel on his view screen. It drifted powerless in Earth's orbit, a symbol of humanity's first victory against the supposed masters of the galaxy. "Prepare a boarding party. I want to meet this Admiral Tejo face to face. Throughout the solar system, the remaining hegemony ships engaged their faster-than-light drives, fleeing toward the edge of the system. They left their flagship behind, abandoned and powerless. Earth had won the first battle. But Captain Lee knew this was just the beginning. Once the hegemony high command learned what had happened, they would send a much larger force. Lieutenant Han, contact Earth Command. Tell President Park Phase 1 is complete. It's time to begin Phase 2. Yes, Captain. And sir, congratulations on our first victory. Lee allowed himself a small smile. Not just a victory, Lieutenant. A statement. Today we showed the galaxy that humanity will never surrender. As the Black Fleet secured Earth's orbit, the disabled hegemony flagship drifted against the backdrop of the planet it had come to conquer, now a trophy of humanity's unexpected defiance. The global broadcast reached every corner of Earth. On screens large and small, Director Choi of the Earth Defense Council stood before the United Nations Assembly. Behind her hung the captured banner of the hegemony flagship, a trophy of humanity's unexpected victory. Fellow citizens of Earth, she began, her voice calm but firm. The time has come to share the full truth. For 50 years, our governments have kept a secret to prevent global panic. In 1975, we discovered an alien scout ship crashed in Antarctica. Inside, we found not only advanced technology, but also a warning. Images appeared on screens worldwide. The crashed ship half buried in ice, the strange symbols on its hull, the alien body preserved in the frozen wreckage. The hegemony has controlled thousands of worlds for millennia. Director Choi explained. They expand their empire by conquering planets rich in resources. We've been preparing for this confrontation since we discovered their scout ship in Antarctica 50 years ago. She walked to a large map showing hundreds of star systems. The ship's database contained details of the hegemony's empire. While the public focused on the open space program, a secret coalition of nations built the Black Fleet using reverse-engineered alien technology. Around the world, people watched in stunned silence. Rumors of government conspiracy had circulated for decades, but the truth was far bigger than anyone had imagined. The battle you witnessed was only the beginning, Director Choi continued. The hegemony will return with a larger force, but we will not wait for them. The Black Fleet is taking the fight to their territory. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the BSS Vengeance as it emerged from hyperspace near a massive hegemony supply station. 6 other Black Fleet warships appeared alongside, their black hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No alarm signals detected, reported Lieutenant Han. They don't know we're here yet. Lee nodded. Deploy jamming field and begin approach. All ships maintain stealth protocols. The supply station orbited a gas giant in a star system 20 light-years from Earth. It served as a major hub for hegemony military operations in this sector of space. Taking it out would disrupt their ability to mount a counterattack against Earth. Target analysis complete, said the tactical officer. The station has minimal defenses. They've never needed them this deep in their territory. Overconfidence, Lee remarked. It will be their downfall. Prepare phase shift torpedoes and target their main reactor and communication arrays. The Vengeance and its escort ships glided silently toward the station. No alarms sounded. No defensive weapons activated. The hegemony had grown complacent after thousands of years without serious opposition. Weapons locked, reported the tactical officer. Fire. The torpedoes launched, phasing in and out of reality as they approached their targets. By the time the station's sensors detected anything wrong, it was too late. The torpedoes rematerialized inside the station's shields, directly adjacent to their targets. Multiple explosions tore through the massive structure. Emergency alerts finally began blaring, but the damage was done. The station's main reactor went into meltdown, and its communication systems were destroyed. Secondary targets, asked Lieutenant Han. Lee checked the tactical display. 3 hegemony supply ships had been docked at the station. They were now attempting to flee. "Disable their engines but leave life support intact," he ordered. "Those ships contain valuable intelligence." As his orders were carried out, Lee thought about the other strike teams now hitting similar targets across hegemony space. For the first time in its long history, the Empire was facing an enemy that could strike anywhere without warning. Commander Song led her team through the dark tunnels beneath the surface of Proxima, the closest exoplanet to Earth's solar system. The hegemony had turned it into a mining colony centuries ago, working the native population to extract valuable minerals. Song's mission was different from Captain Lee's direct attacks. While he disrupted hegemony supply lines, she sought allies among the subjugated species of the Empire. "The meeting place should be just ahead," whispered her guide, a thin, gray-skinned being who had contacted the Black Fleet using a communication frequency provided by Earth's underground resistance network. They emerged into a larger cavern where about 30 aliens waited. They were of various species, some humanoid, others wildly different in form, but all bore the same look of wary hope. One stepped forward, taller than the others. "I am Beck, leader of the Proxima Resistance. We have waited a long time for this day." Song removed her helmet, showing her human face. Some of the aliens murmured in surprise. They had expected another species, perhaps one of the mysterious forerunners that legend said had once challenged the hegemony. "I am Commander Song of Earth's Black Fleet," she said. "We've come to propose an alliance." Bake studied her carefully. "Word has spread quickly of your victory at Earth. Some call it impossible. The hegemony has never been defeated in battle." "Yet here we are," Song replied, "and we plan to strike again and again until their empire crumbles." "With what army?" "Your fleet is impressive but small compared to the full might of the hegemony." Song activated a holographic projector. It showed the locations of dozens of Black Fleet strike teams already operating throughout hegemony space. "We don't need to match their numbers," she explained. "Our technology allows us to hit them where they least expect it and vanish before they can respond." Blake considered this. "For 300 years, my people have been slaves to the hegemony. We mine their metals, build their ships, and die in their tunnels. Many have dreamed of resistance, but none believed it possible." He paused, then continued with growing determination. "Your fight against the hegemony has inspired us. My people are ready to join your alliance." Song smiled. "We bring more than just inspiration. We bring weapons, training, and a communication network that the hegemony cannot detect." She opened a large case her team had carried. Inside were phase pistols, quantum communicators, and portable shield generators, technology far beyond anything the Resistance had seen. "With these, you can strike at the hegemony presence here on Proxima," Song said. "And when you've secured this world, we'll bring ships to help you defend it." Bake lifted one of the weapons, examining it with wonder. "All my life, I've been told the hegemony is invincible, that resistance is pointless." "They told us the same thing," Song replied. "They were wrong." In the following weeks, reports flooded into Earth Defense Command. Black Fleet strike teams had hit over 50 hegemony targets, supply stations destroyed, communication relays disabled, military outposts sabotaged, and something else was happening. Something the strategic planners had hoped for, but couldn't count on. Rebellion was spreading across the Empire. On Proxima, Bak's resistance had seized control of the main mining complex, capturing the hegemony overseers. On 3 other nearby worlds, similar uprisings had succeeded. The long-suppressed peoples of the Empire were rising up, inspired by Earth's example. Director Choi studied the reports with quiet satisfaction. Phase 2 of Earth's defensive strategy was working even better than expected. The Hegemony High Command has recalled ships from 12 sectors to form a counterattack force, reported her aide. They're gathering at Centauri Prime. And Captain Lee, already aware and adjusting his strategy, Commander Song has established contact with resistance groups on 17 worlds, with more joining daily. Choi nodded. And the captured hegemony database. Our analysts have decrypted another section. It contains the locations of 20 more mining worlds like Proxima B. Commander Song is dispatching contact teams to each one. For millennia, the hegemony had expanded unchallenged across the galaxy. Their strategy had always been the same: arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and integrate the conquered world into their empire. Never had they faced an enemy that could strike them everywhere at once. Never had they dealt with a coordinated rebellion across multiple star systems. The Hegemony Council has issued a galaxy-wide alert, the aide continued. They're calling the situation unprecedented and have raised their military alert status to level 1 for the first time in recorded history. Director Choi allowed herself a small smile. Send word to all Black Fleet commanders. Phase 3 begins now. As more enslaved civilizations joined the resistance, the hegemony's grip on the galactic arm began to falter. For the first time in thousands of years, the mighty empire was on the defensive, scrambling to respond to attacks that came from everywhere and nowhere. Earth, the supposedly primitive world they had planned to conquer, had instead become the spark that ignited a galaxy-wide revolution. The final battle unfolded near Alpha Centauri. The entire hegemony Grand Fleet had gathered there, over 600 warships forming a massive defensive line around the binary star system. This was their last stand, a desperate attempt to crush the rebellion that had spread across their once secure empire. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the BSS Vengeance, studying the tactical display with a calm expression that hid his inner tension. The Black Fleet had grown since that first battle at Earth, now numbering nearly 200 vessels. Many were newly constructed ships crewed by humans, while others were captured hegemony vessels now operated by liberated species. They outnumber us 3-1, Captain Lee observed, turning to his officers. Lieutenant Han nodded grimly. And those are their elite units. The Grand Imperial Guard ships have twice the firepower of the vessels we faced at Earth. Commander Song, recently promoted after her successful mission to unite the resistance forces, stepped forward. Her once pristine uniform now bore the marks of numerous battles. Numbers won't matter once we deploy the sundering, she said with quiet confidence. The sundering was humanity's ultimate weapon against the hegemony, a device developed from technology found in the captured flagship. For generations, the hegemony had controlled their vast fleets through a neural network that linked their ships together, allowing for perfect coordination. The sundering was designed to break that link. The device is untested at this scale, warned Chief Engineer Min. We've only used prototypes on small groups of ships. It's our best chance, Captain Lee replied. Begin the approach. All ships in attack formation Delta. The Black Fleet moved forward as one, their black hulls contrasting starkly against the starry backdrop. Leading the formation was the Vengeance, flanked by 2 massive Guardian vessels that had been protecting Earth during the first battle. As they approached the hegemony line, the first shots were fired. Space lit up with energy beams and missile trails as the 2 fleets engaged. Unlike the surprise attack at Earth, this was a head-on confrontation against a prepared enemy. The Black Fleet's advanced shields absorbed the initial barrage, but several smaller vessels took direct hits and fell out of formation. Casualties? Lee asked. 3 ships lost, 7 damage, replied Lieutenant Han. Their targeting has improved. They've adapted to our stealth technology. Lee nodded. This was expected. The hegemony had spent months studying their tactics and developing countermeasures. Signal all ships to execute pattern sunburst, he ordered. The Black Fleet suddenly broke formation, scattering in all directions. This was not a retreat, but a carefully planned maneuver. Each ship had a specific role to play in the coming moments. On the bridge of the Imperial Majesty, the hegemony's new flagship, Grand Admiral Cos, watched with satisfaction. They're breaking formation, he announced to his officers. Begin pursuit and destroy them ship by ship. The hegemony fleet divided into pursuit groups, each chasing after a section of the scattered Black Fleet. Their superior numbers would allow them to overwhelm the human ships in smaller engagements. But this was exactly what Captain Lee had planned. "They've taken the bait," he said. "All ships, execute Phase 2. The fleeing Black Fleet vessels suddenly reversed course, turning to face their pursuers. From hidden positions in nearby asteroid fields, additional ships appeared, catching the hegemony pursuit groups in crossfires. "Commander Song, status of the sundering?" Lee asked. Song stood at the specialized control station that had been installed specifically for this battle. The sundering device hummed beside her, its alien technology pulsing with strange light. "Final calibrations complete," she reported. "Ready to activate on your command." Lee took a deep breath. Everything hinged on this moment. "Proceed." Commander Song pressed her palm against the activation panel. The device thrummed louder, its light intensifying. "Sundering active in 3, 2, 1. A wave of invisible energy expanded outward from the Vengeance. It wasn't detected by conventional sensors, but its effect was immediately visible. Throughout the hegemony fleet, ships suddenly lurched out of formation. Some fired their weapons randomly. Others stopped moving entirely. "It's working," Lieutenant Han exclaimed. "Their neural network is collapsing." The hegemony had relied on their central command structure for millennia. Without it, their perfectly coordinated fleet became a disorganized mass of individual ships, each captain suddenly forced to make decisions independently, something they had never trained for. "All ships, press the attack," ordered Captain Lee. "Target their command vessels first." The Black Fleet executed with precision, each captain acting according to the battle plan they had memorized. They struck at the confused hegemony vessels, focusing firepower on the largest ships that housed the fleet admirals. From his flagship, Grand Admiral Kos frantically tried to regain control of his forces. "Re-establish the neural link," he shouted. "Why can't I sense the fleet?" His technology officer worked desperately at his station. "The humans have found a way to disrupt the network, sir. Each ship is cut off from the others." Kos slammed his fist on his command chair. Without the neural network, his vast numerical advantage meant little. The hegemony had forgotten how to fight as individual ships over the centuries of relying on their linked consciousness. The battle raged for hours. Despite their confusion, the hegemony ships fought fiercely. They still outnumbered the Black Fleet, and their weapons were powerful. Several more human vessels were destroyed, and the Vengeance itself took heavy damage to its upper decks. But the tide had turned. The once mighty Grand Fleet was being defeated section by section. On the Imperial Majesty, a junior officer approached Admiral Kos with obvious fear. "Sir, Lord Admiral Tejo is requesting to speak with you." Kos frowned. Tejo had been disgraced after his defeat at Earth, stripped of his rank and imprisoned. Why would he be contacting the flagship during battle? "Put him through," Kos ordered. Admiral Tejo's face appeared on the communication screen. He was no longer wearing his grand uniform, but a simple gray tunic. "Admiral Kos, you must end this battle," Tejo said without preamble. "Are you mad? We never surrender." "I have spent 6 months as a prisoner of the humans," Tejo replied calmly. "I have learned much about them. They do not wish to destroy our people, only our empire. They offer terms that will preserve our civilization." "Treason," Kos shouted. "No. Wisdom. Look at your battle displays. The sundering device has changed everything. The neural network we relied on for millennia is our greatest weakness. The humans exploited it perfectly." Kos glanced at the tactical displays. Another dozen hegemony ships had just been destroyed. The Black Fleet was cutting through their formation with surgical precision. "What terms do they offer?" he asked finally, his voice low. 3 hours later, the firing stopped. A single communication went out from the Imperial Majesty to all remaining hegemony vessels. "Stand down." Admiral Tejo, facing his former subordinate across a conference table, opened a communication channel to the Vengeance. "We request terms," he stated flatly. Captain Lee's face appeared on the screen. The terms are as we discussed, Admiral. The hegemony will withdraw from all conquered worlds. A new council will be formed with representatives from all species. No more conquests, no more forced labor. Taijo nodded. It is agreed. 3 months later, representatives from 27 formerly subjugated species gathered on Earth. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the United Nations, they signed the Terran Accord, establishing a new democratic alliance with humanity at its center. President Park stood before the assembled delegates. Today marks the beginning of a new era for our galaxy. No longer will any single power dominate others through force. Together, we build a future based on cooperation and respect. Admiral Taijo, now serving as the representative of the reformed hegemony worlds, was the last to sign. For 10,000 years, we believed conquest was the natural order of the universe, he said. Earth has taught us otherwise. Above the proceedings, Captain Lee watched from orbit, the Black Fleet standing guard. The Vengeance had been repaired, its battle scars still visible, a reminder of how close they had come to defeat. Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command, Lieutenant Han reported. Put it through. Director Choi's face appeared on the screen. Congratulations, Captain. The accord has been signed. All 27 species have joined the alliance. Lee nodded. And our next mission? Exploration, not war, Choi replied with a smile. There's a whole galaxy out there, most of it unexplored even by the hegemony. Your new orders are to lead the first joint species expedition beyond known space. As the transmission ended, Lee looked out at the stars. The Black Fleet, built for war, would now lead the way to peaceful discovery. Earth, once targeted for conquest, had become the center of a new galactic civilization. Behind him, Commander Song joined him at the viewport. Hard to believe it all started with that crashed ship in Antarctica. Perhaps it was no accident, Lee replied thoughtfully. Perhaps someone out there wanted to give us a warning. And a chance. Together they watched as the dawn of a new galactic era unfolded below them. Humanity at the center of a peace no one had thought possible just 1 year before.